Hey, I'm Sarah and welcome back to Thrills and Kills Booktube. So a while back, I filmed a very long video and was planning on uploading it, just one video entitled Everything on My Kindle. And as I started editing, I quickly realized, oh no, this needs to be 2 videos. So part 1 is already up. I'll link that up here if you're interested, but this is part 2 of everything that's on my Kindle. I've been going over sort of my backlog of my Kindle TBR that I need to get to. Some books I found either through Kindle Unlimited or some I found really good deals on, so I shared the prices in part 1. And then some of these I have plans for as far as like readathons or certain reading challenges, but most of these are just whenever I can make time to get to them. So let's jump into it. This book I haven't seen talked about really anywhere. This is a thriller, also part of Kindle Unlimited. The Flock by J. Todd Scott. So this is a cult book. 10 years after a fiery raid kills her family, former cult member Sibylla Billy Laurie has a completely new identity. She's settled in rural Colorado with her daughter, hoping for a quieter life, but the world has other plans. Isn't that usually how that goes? With wildfires raging and birds dropping from the sky, Billy wonders if her cult leader father's apocalyptic predictions are finally coming true. When an intruder murders her husband and kidnaps her daughter, Billy has no choice but to confront the secrets of her past. But Billy's journey has other perils too, namely a police chief hot on her trail, determined to expose the dangers of the defunct Doomsday Cult. To save her daughter, Billy will have to go back to where it all began, to the ruined compound in New Mexico, where the real threat is the truth. Ba, ba, ba. That sounds interesting. I like cult books. This next one has been sitting on my Kindle since January, also through Kindle Unlimited. Into the Forest and All the Way Through by Cynthia Pelayo, a collection of true crime poetry that explores the cases of over 100 missing and murdered women in the United States. That's the whole description of it. But it does have a little blurb by Keelan Patrick Burke, who wrote Sour Candy, which I bought recently. It's like way up there on my shelf. I've never read a book of poetry other than like in high school being assigned some stuff like Emily Dickinson to read. So I think I'll probably just pick it up here and there. Definitely not something I'm gonna read from like start to finish. But it has some really good reviews. People saying it's powerful, beautiful tribute to heartbreaking truths, a testimony of the missing, chilling, spotlighting, incredible. This next one is a nonfiction. So also if you're looking for a nonfiction November book, The Indifferent Stars Above, the harrowing saga of the Donner Party. This has also been on my Kindle since January. If you're American, presumably you know who the Donner Party was. You probably learned about this in American history, but let me read the blurb for those of my followers who are not American. In April of 1846, 21-year-old Sarah Graves, intent on a better future, set out west from Illinois with her new husband, her parents, and 8 siblings. 7 months later, after joining a party of pioneers led by George Donner, they reached the Sierra Nevada mountains as the first heavy snows of the season closed the pass ahead of them. The Sierra Nevada mountains are in California, so we're talking about way out west America. In early December, starving and desperate, Sarah and 14 others set out for California on snowshoes, and over the next 32 days endured almost unfathomable hardships and horrors. In this gripping narrative, New York Times bestselling author Daniel James Brown sheds new light on one of the most legendary events in American history, following every painful footstep of Sarah's journey with the Donner Party. 468 pages. So now we're getting into the books that have been on here since 2021, and I honestly just like don't remember why I bought them, what was interesting about them, so I'm kind of excited to rediscover some of these, if you will. This next one I'm going to talk about has been on my Kindle since December of 2021, and I remember being so freaking excited, and I'm just so sad I haven't read it yet, because I still want to really read it. I'm excited. This is Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. This is a thriller set in Scotland. Inti Flynn, arrives in Scotland with her twin sister Aggie to lead a team of biologists tasked with reintroducing 14 grey wolves into the remote Highlands. She hopes to heal not only the dying landscape, but Aggie too, unmade by the terrible secrets that drove the sisters out of Alaska. Inti is not the woman she once was, either changed by the harm she's witnessed, inflicted by humans on both the wild and each other. Yet as the wolves surprise everyone by thriving, Inti begins to let her guard down, even opening herself up to the possibility of love. When a farmer is found dead, Inti knows where the town will lay blame. Unable to accept her wolves could be responsible, Inti makes a reckless decision to protect them. But if the wolves didn't make the kill, then who did? And what will Inti do when the man she is falling for seems to be the prime suspect? This next one I've heard is particularly fucked up, which is probably why I haven't gotten to it yet. You have to be like in the right mood for that. I've had this since November of 2021. The Last Days of Jack Sparks by Jason Arnott. Jack Sparks died while writing this book. Okay, it was no secret that journalist Jack Sparks had been researching the occult for his new book. No stranger to controversy, he'd already triggered a furious Twitter storm by mocking an exorcism he witnessed. Then there was that video, 40 seconds of chilling footage that Jack repeatedly claimed was not of his making, yet was posted from his own YouTube account. Nobody knew what happened to Jack in the days that followed, until now. Okay, so yeah, supposed to be particularly fucked up. I believe, again, I've heard about this from the Books of Horror Facebook group, which is always a good place to get really fucked up book recommendations. It's got really good reviews. Unusual take on a supernatural novel. Okay. This next book I also have through Kindle Unlimited, and I don't know that anyone's ever heard of this, but I've had it for a year now. This is Count to 3 by T.R. Ragan, the private investigator on the trail of a missing girl. Every second counts in a gripping thriller by New York Times bestselling author T.R. Ragan. Her first day of kindergarten, 5-year-old Tinsley disappears without a trace. 5 agonizing years later, her divorced mother is a private investigator. She and Quinn Sullivan, a promising young assistant determined to prove herself, are devoted to helping others find missing loved ones. Finding Tinsley is still a never-ending obsession. Investigations lead down 2 twisting paths. Disturbing secrets are revealed and new victims find themselves in mortal danger. Time is running out and the hunt is only getting grimmer. I don't particularly like detective investigative books like that. I feel like I have to be in the right mood. For some reason, I like reading those in the winter when like it's cold and snowy, like the little bit of snow we get down south. So maybe I'll get to that this winter. This next one I have is called The Dark by Emma Houghton. I've had this since December of 2021. I don't remember exactly how much I paid for it, but right now it's $4.99 on Kindle. I believe this takes place in Antarctica. Let's see. 1 dead body, 12 suspects, 24-hour darkness. A&E doctor Kate, okay, so this must be British, so that's like an ER doctor in the US. Kate North has been knocked out of her orbit by a personal tragedy, so when she's offered the opportunity to be an emergency replacement at the UN research station in Antarctica, she jumps at the chance. The previous doctor, Jean-Luc, died in a tragic accident while out on the ice. The move seems an ideal solution for Kate. No one knows about her past, no one is checking up on her, but as total darkness descends for the winter, she begins to suspect that Jean-Luc's death wasn't accidental at all. Dun dun dun! So 378 pages. This came out in 2021. It's got 4 stars on Amazon with about 2,000 reviews, so decent. I'll probably never get to it because let's be honest, half these books are gonna sit on here. I'm never gonna get to them. Let's see, some other stuff I have on here that maybe I don't need to go into too much description. Oh, I have a few other Darcy Coates on here. I've got Voices in the Snow, so going along with our like cold weather theme. And I also have The Haunting of Blackwood House. I've only read the 1 book by her. I have a few Anya Allborns, so let's go through the Anya Allborns. And these are pretty well-known books. I probably won't read the whole description. Sitting on the floor was not a good idea. Now I'm hurting. So I have The Shuddering by her. I've got Bird Eater, I Call Upon Thee, Seed, Brother, and is that all the Anya Allborn? That's all the Anya Allborn. Okay, so, and those were all through Kindle Unlimited. She's got a pretty decent amount available on Kindle Unlimited. All right, another book I've had for At least a year. Oh yeah, November 29th, 2021. Thanks, Amazon, for reminding me how long this has been sitting on there. The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I've never read any Lucy Foley books before. Our little blurb says, everyone's invited and everyone is a suspect. Okay. During the days of Christmas break, a group of 30-something friends from Oxford, okay, so this is in the UK, meet to welcome in the new year together, a tradition they began as students 10 years ago. For this vacation, they've chosen an idyllic and isolated estate in the Scottish Highlands. How nice! The perfect place to get away and unwind by themselves. The trip begins innocently enough, admiring the stunning if foreboding scenery, champagne in front of a crackling fire, and reminisces about the past. Doesn't that sound very fun? I wish I had friends who would do that with me. All my friends have kids and they're not available for that kind of stuff. After a decade, the weight of secret resentments has grown too heavy for the group's tenuous nostalgia to bear. Amid the boisterous revelry of New Year's Eve, the cord holding them together snaps, just as a historic blizzard seals the lodge off from the outside world. 2 days later, on New Year's Day, one of them is dead, and another of them did it. Keep your friends close, but how close is too close? 349 pages. That came out in 2019, so I gotta get caught up on that. I feel like the UK just has really great female thriller authors. We've got, well, obviously Lucy Foley. I haven't read any of her stuff, but you've got Alice Feeney, you've got Ruth Ware. So hopefully I like her stuff. All right, I also have a book on here by Taylor Adams. So I previously read No Exit. It's actually, it's up here somewhere. I really enjoyed it. I hated the Hulu movie. I thought that was terrible. So I also have his Hairpin Bridge. That's been on here since November. It's a thriller set in, I think, Montana. So hopefully I'll get to that sometime soon. So there is a book on here. I really want to make sure I get to this soon, just like I say about everything. This is The Children of Red Peak by Craig DeLuey. I recently bought another book by him, Suffer the Children. So hopefully this one is just as good. I've had this for a year. I don't remember how much I spent on it, but right now it's $4.99 on Kindle. They escaped a cult, but are they free? Is what it asks. David Young, Deacon Price, and Beth Harris live with a dark secret. They grew up in an isolated religious community in the shadow of the mountain Red Peak, and they are among the few who survived its horrific last days. Years later, the trauma of what they experienced never feels far behind, and when a fellow survivor commits suicide, they reunite to confront their past and share their memories of that night. But discovering the terrifying truth might put them on a path back to Red Peak, and escaping a second time could be almost impossible. Like I said, it's got some pretty good reviews. It came out in 2020, 385 pages. So it's like a culty cult thriller, culty book. All right, we're getting to the end here. What else do I have? Okay, honestly, I don't even remember putting this one in my Kindle, but apparently I've had it for a year. It's currently $2.99 on Kindle, and this is The Hidden People. Tragedy is only half a step away. A chilling gothic mystery from the best-selling author of Richard and Judy book club hit The Cold Season, perfect for fans of Susan Hill, The Coffin Path, and Silent Companions. Superstition and myth bleed into real life with tragic consequences. Pretty Lizzie Higgs is gone, burned to death on her own hearth, but was she really a changeling as her husband insists? What the fuck? Abbey Merles met his cousin only once in 1851 within the grand glass arches of the Crystal Palace. But unable to countenance the rumors that surround her murder, he leaves his young wife in London and travels to Half Oak, a village steeped in superstition. Abby begins to look into Lizzie's death, but in this place where the old tales hold sway and the hidden people supposedly roam, answers are slippery and further tragedy is just a step away. A skillful blend of supernatural and psychological. If you enjoy Jonathan Strange and Mr. Morel, or The Women in Black, this one is for you. Well, I have The Women in Black right here. So obviously I liked it, and hopefully I like this book. 374 pages. This came out in 2016. I also have Sarah Moss's Ghost Wall. I've had this for a year. It's currently $9.99 on Kindle. In the north of England, far from the intrusions of cities but not far from civilization, Sylvie and her family are living as if they are ancient Britons, surviving by the tools and knowledge of the Iron Age. Why would you do that? In the year 2022, with all of the comforts we have, why would you do that? For 2 weeks, the length of her father's vacation, they join an anthropology course set to reenact life in simpler times. They are surrounded by forests of birch and rowan. They make stew from foraged roots and hunted rabbit. The students are fulfilling their coursework. Sylvie's father is fulfilling his lifelong obsession. Ancient Britons built ghost walls to ward off enemy invaders, rude barricades of stakes topped with ancestral skulls. When the group builds one of their own, they find a spiritual connection to the past. What comes next by human sacrifice? Eee! Okay. And someone on Booktube was like raving about this book. I can't remember who. Was it Books and Lala, or it might have been like Mercedes Musing. Someone who I respect their opinion really liked this book, and that's why I added this to my Kindle a year ago and haven't read it since. I have a few other nonfictions on here. I'm not going to read you the whole description, but I have Behind the Horror, True Stories That Inspired Horror Movies by Dr. Lee Meller. If You Tell, The True Story of Murder, Family Secrets, and the Unbreakable Bond of Sisterhood by Greg Olson. All That Remains, a renowned forensic scientist on death, mortality, and solving crimes by Susan Black. In Dr. Mutter's Marvels, a true tale of intrigue and innovation at the dawn of modern medicine, a mesmerizing biography of the brilliant and eccentric medical inventor who revolutionized American surgery and founded the country's most famous museum of medical oddities. Okay, so any other? Yeah, that's it, because then it's my husband's stuff. We share an account. So then it's looking at his stupid shit I don't want to read. So, God, that was a lot of books. Hopefully you found some new ones, especially Kindle Unlimited. I feel like it can be a really great way to find newer authors or just like indie authors, some unknown books. I don't know when the hell I'm going to get to these. I do know I need to read Gothic pretty soon. Other than that, let's be honest, these books are probably going to sit on my Kindle for another year because I got all these pretty ones I want to read first. But I do need to eventually get around to those. That's everything I have for you today. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these. Did any of these stand out to you and you're interested in picking them up? Do you use Kindle Unlimited and do you find it worth the money? I personally do. So that's everything for today. Hope you all have a good one and stay spooky.